With that, let me introduce Tim Dwight. And Tim,
sure.
The floor is yours.
Over.
Next. Well, thanks, Rob and Kimberly. Appreciate it. And thank you all for coming. This is a very exciting industry and how it's taking hold across the globe. Solar is a very global industry. And the reason that is because a lot of people are starting to implement. Back in the 70s, there was more of the United States push when our oil prices spiked and we wanted to go into solar, and a lot of challenges back then. And still a lot of challenges today. But it's a fast-growing industry. I mean, this is the fastest-growing industry on the planet right now. I mean, and it's just getting started as we see a lot of these other nations like China, India, Africa, and even some Europeans starting to really buy in to solar. And they're seeing it not just in job creation, but also environmental impacts, as well as just a way of changing our lifestyle. And the solar module will power the world going forward. It is, I take it as like the car, like 1904 when Henry Ford came out with Model T. Changed everything, right? This thing will change everything. This can be in anybody's house, in any part of the world. And it can capture any light. As long as that sun comes up, the thing kicks on. And it's not really much about the technology anymore. The technology has been powering our satellites for the last 60 years. And that's where solar has kind of lived within our space race and our space, advancement. I mean, you can't just fly up and power up a satellite every day. So it has to power itself. We've got satellites installed with solar since the 50s and 60s, and still powering some of those satellites today. So the technology is real, it works, and it never stops working. As long as that sun comes up, it keeps moving. So I got an industry, I was coming out of football, had an opportunity to look at a solar company, got really excited about where the growth was happening, and I was thinking, hey, I practiced a lot in Iowa. I was on the football field quite a bit in July, August, September, October. I know there's a lot of, knowing the heat and the sun, there's a lot of power out there. And Iowa, just learning a couple years ago, we are the 14th sunniest state in the country. 14. So it's really not about our resource. And in any part of the states, it's not about resource. A lot of it's about policy right now. And getting this technology to scalability. And that's what we're seeing in China. We're seeing that in India. And we're starting to see that in other parts of the world. So prices are coming down just because of scale. And I always look at this technology like the cell phone. Imagine our cell phones back in the 1980s when we had those big, huge monsters, and they cost like $6,000. And now we got a cell phone that does probably 1,000 times more operations than that did, and it costs us nothing. It costs us pennies on the dollar. We have to pay for that service. But it shows you as technology scales, just like our computers and our flat screen TVs and solar power, prices come down. And we're starting, as the traction starts to grab more in the world, these module prices are going to keep climbing down because these manufacturers then can see the growth and they can expand capacity and they can bring price down. So it's really interesting, it's really fun to see this industry grow in our recession. I mean, the numbers that you're going to see is massive. And we've been in a global recession since 2008. It kind of started in 2007, and this industry is exploding through the recession. So you're thinking, wow, if we're not in a recession, just how fast would this industry grow? Then so a lot of growth has happened, prices have come down, and it's becoming more affordable for everyone to own this technology. So what we decided is, when you're looking at different markets, there's three different parts of the market. There's utility scale, there's commercial, and there's residential. And back in the 70s, we kind of focused on the residential market. Everybody's like, okay, get solar in your house, go green, offset these oil prices. Well, it's really hard to build an industry per little house. So as what's happened over the last 10 years, as Germany started building big fields, as Italy, as Spain building these monster fields, Chinese manufacturers, which got into the game, are saying, whoa, that's a great opportunity. Let's get into this. So as we know, China manufactures a lot of things in the world, and they've scaled the technology. So they saw this huge growth happening in Europe. And that's kind of really where prices started to drive down because when we're talking fields, we're talking like, 4,000 acres of fields. That's like 12 megawatts. I mean, it's a lot of actually it's more than that. It's like 550 megawatts, which is a huge, it's like a coal plant. So you're starting to see all this growth. And something where our country really needs to dive into. And there's a lot of hurdles that's kept solar out of the game. A lot of these utilities have created these obstacles to get around, and it's still breaking through, but we still have a lot of work to do. So looking at the market, you try to get everybody involved. So Kimberly and I were like, okay, well, how can we get the residential involved? And we decided to make a solar co-op. So if we can all gather a certain amount of capacity, we can buy modules at a certain low price where it becomes very feasible for everybody. But we have to get to that amount. So it's going to take a little time to grab people. So we decided to build the Iowa Solar Energy Cooperative. And we are nonprofit, we're a for-profit. And there's a couple different things that are going to be along with this organization, but that's kind of further down the line until we start putting in systems and get some traction. So today's presentation, I was raised to clean energy. The facts, the equipment, some pricing, some financing, which we'll get a little bit into that, and